Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Florence and this is Zillennial Life Crisis. Today's video is going to be a chit chat type of video and I'll be going through my 10 biggest culture shocks after moving to the US. I moved here a year ago from Kenya and these are the 10 most different, surprising, shocking things about the US to me coming from Kenya. It's crazy to think it's already been a year since I moved. I mean, wow, time does fly. Time does fly. And 2020 has been one doozy of a year. I feel like I picked the most strange time to move, but anyway, here we are. So number one on my list is the different metric system. So in the US, they use the pounds and the feet and the miles and the Fahrenheit. And the rest of the world uses kgs, meters, Celsius, etc, etc. So it was a very big shift. And I remember landing here the first day and the pilot goes like, it's something, like say it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit out. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like the numbers do not make sense. There's no meaning attached to the number 70 when it's in Fahrenheit. Is that cold? Is that warm? Is that hot? Is that like freezing? What is 70 degrees Fahrenheit? I don't know the Fahrenheit metric. I feel like it makes no sense, to be honest. It makes no sense. Anyway, to each his own, but that was the first big shock. Number 2 on the list is there are dogs everywhere. Everywhere. I feel like every family has a dog, which is crazy. And I'm scared of dogs. So you can imagine how many times my heart has to skip a beat when someone's dog tries to be friendly. They always say it's friendly. And I'm like, oh no, don't mind him. He's just friendly. Friendly? Him trying to come and bite me is friendly? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't like dogs. But to each his own. So if you love dogs, you would be in paradise here. You would pet all of them. They're all friendly, like they like to say. And the dog owners are also friendly. So you can bond about the dogs. It's a dog's paradise. You would love it. So yeah, I found that very shocking. Very many dogs. And I mean like domesticated dogs, not like just stray dogs roaming around. I've actually never seen any stray dogs, come to think of it. Yeah, there are no stray dogs. It's just pets, domesticated pets, people's pets, man's best friend. Number 3 on the list is the weather. This one depends on where you live in the US. So for me, I live in Seattle and the weather is it's trash, to be honest. I remember reading on those websites what to expect when moving to Seattle, and among the top things on the list would always be the weather, that it's gloomy and rains a lot and it sucks. And I'm like, it really can't be that bad. Like it really cannot be that bad, can it? It is. I am here to tell you it is. I moved here in October and I can tell you for a fact that it was gloomy or raining or drizzling between October, I think all the way till June. Yeah, so 90% of that time was rainy or gloomy or drizzling, and then you'd have like, some sunny days here and there, but 90% of the time it was raining or gloomy. It's just, it does like a number on your mood. I didn't know like weather affects mood, by the way. I didn't until I moved here, and then suddenly when it's sunny, you're happy and you don't know why else you're happy, but it's just because it's sunny. Like the sun makes you happy. But the summers are beautiful. But that's it. Also, something else about the weather, the whole 4 seasons thing is new to me, because in Kenya, it's like right next to the equator. So it's very moderate temperatures. We just have like, rainy season and sunny season. Here you have like the whole 4 things: summer, winter, spring, autumn. It's interesting. It's also interesting to realize that there's no direct connection between the sun and heat, that it can be sunny and cold. That was a big one for me. I was like, wow, it can be sunny and cold. Really? I thought the sun equals heat. Something else to do with the weather is daylight saving. That one caught me by surprise. So daylight saving is a thing that these countries that are, I guess, like farther away from the equator do, where in spring they move their clocks forward by one hour, and then in autumn or fall, around like November, they move them back 1 hour. In March, the clock basically skips an hour some point in the night. So the sun sets an hour later, the whole of, spring into summer and then into autumn. And then at some point in November, they set it back, and then, you go back 1 hour. So suddenly it's getting dark at like 3:30 p.m. or like 4 p.m. and it's like pitch black. It's just very confusing. Also, it's confusing because, of course, like the normal automatic clocks will shift, but like the clock on the oven or like the microwave won't automatically adjust itself. So you will notice that the time moved forward an hour or moved back. That caught me by surprise. I didn't know daylight saving is a thing, but it's a thing. It's a thing. All right, number 4 on the list is cost of living. Where do I even start? Seattle is expensive. Seattle is really, really, really expensive. But also it depends on what you're buying. There are certain things that are more expensive here than they are in Kenya, and there are some things that are cheaper here than they are in Kenya. For example, electronics are cheaper here than in Kenya, mostly because you don't have to go through the whole importing cost. So if say you want to buy a phone or a TV, they're probably manufactured by the same people, so buying it from here is cheaper than importing it and buying it from Kenya. So that's nice. But things like food, especially fresh food like groceries, vegetables, fruits, yeah, those things are expensive. It's a lot cheaper in Kenya to buy food. It's a lot cheaper. Like, wow. Like by a margin, by a dramatic margin. What else? There's also sales tax. So in Washington, the sales tax is 10%. So each time you buy something, you have to account for 10% on top of that, which is weird. I think the closest thing I can think of to sales tax in Kenya is like maybe the VAT, which is like 16%. But the only difference is that in Kenya, like that is added to the price. So the price you see on the price tag is what you pay at the cashier. But here, what you see on the price tag is just the price of the item before sales tax. So you have to account for the sales tax before you gauge whether you can afford the thing or not. It even gets worse when you're buying food at a restaurant because the price on the menu does not fully reflect what you're gonna pay at the end, because you'll pay for the food, which is what you see on the menu. Some places like will have a service fee, so that also accounts into it. You'll have to pay sales tax, need to account for that, and then tipping is a big thing. So it's a big deal to tip. So you'd also like have to add that 10-15% tip on the bill. So the food ends up being quite a bit more expensive than what you saw on the menu. It's a weird adjustment to make to calculate all these things prior, and when you see something is like $20, you have to think about, can I afford it if it was 40? Because if you can't, you probably won't afford the entire bill after they like tack on all other things to the bill. Number 5 on the list is aggressive marketing. Guys, I don't know if the salespeople here are paid purely on commission or what, but the marketing here is aggressive. Like it's in your face. It starts with the unsolicited calls that you get. You actively have to block unknown numbers. Otherwise, you just have calls upon calls every single day. If you walk into a shop to buy, say, a phone, they will want to upsell you on every single thing. They won't just let you buy the phone by itself. No, they want to sell you insurance for the phone. They want to sell you some subscription model for extra storage. They want to sell you a phone plan with the phone. They want to sell you, I don't know, a charger, a phone case, a car to transport the phone, water to drink while you drive the new car that you bought after buying the phone. They just, wow. It's insane. It's really insane. It's really insane. And if you don't stand your ground and say, no, I just want the phone, like, no, stop trying to make me spend more money, I just want the phone, you can end up spending a lot more money than you thought you would when you walked into that shop. Number 6 on the list, there are fewer billboards here than there are in Nairobi, Kenya. Yeah, that one I actually didn't notice immediately. It took someone else pointing it out for me. But yeah, there are fewer billboards, at least in the area I live, than in Nairobi. I know it varies from state to state, city to city. People have different rules, blah 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 blah. But yeah, in Seattle, the Seattle area, there are fewer billboards, and they mostly have the smaller, tiny ones that you put on the ground. I'll put a photo. Yeah, so there are fewer billboards, like the very big ones. You won't find a highway with, billboards after billboards after billboards, or billboards on the street lights and whatnot, like we see in Kenya. Yeah, it's just, I don't know why, but yeah, there are just fewer billboards. Number 7 has to do with the food. The food scene here is very interesting. There are so many types of diets going on. There's the non-dairy, the vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, gluten-free, lots of different dietary things going on. But one of the biggest things I noticed is that people here love cheese. They put cheese on almost everything. They just sprinkle cheese everywhere. It's like, ooh, cheese. And I don't like cheese, so I have found that I have to go out of my way to read every menu item into the details and figure, does this have cheese? Does this have cheese? Does this have cheese? It's wild. But if you love cheese, you would enjoy it here. You would love it here. You would be thriving. In fact, if you just love dairy, you would thrive. Yeah, you just thrive. They put buttermilk in everything. They cook almost all the bougie things with butter. They put cheese on everything. It's just like a dairy heaven. You would love it. Number 8 would be the fact that here people drive on the right, and in Kenya we drive on the left. Sounds very trivial, but that took a while to get used to. I feel like maybe the first 2 months, I kept feeling like we were driving on the wrong side of the road. Literally, quite literally, you would get into a car and I would feel the urge of wanting to correct the person when they're making a turn, because I think they're making a turn onto the wrong side of the road. But really, it's just my brain playing games. It's wild. So everything is on the other side. I remember doing my driving test, and that's actually a story for another day. That driving test was dramatic. I don't even know how I passed that driving test. But it's weird because after maybe driving for a month or less, when I went back home, now I found driving on the left weird. And my brain was going through the same thing but now in reverse. How fast do our brains unlearn things and relearn things? It's crazy. Anyway, so yes, we drive on the right here. In Kenya, we drive on the left. Number 9 is all to do with finances. I think this one is just generally surprising or shocking to me because I'm a new adult, and all these adulting things like investments and saving for your retirement are just generally new to me. But one thing that's very different between here and Kenya is the importance they put on credit. Here, having a good credit history is a big deal. There is something like good debt here. Back home, I feel like I grew up knowing there's nothing like good debt. Debt is bad. Stay away from debt. Do not borrow money. Only live within your means. Do not borrow money. Pay with what you have, etc, etc, etc. So it took a while to flip and begin using a credit card. I had a credit card, but I never used to use it for the longest time. because it made no sense to me to, go and want to buy a $3 meal and then charge it to my credit card, like essentially borrow the $3 when I know I have the $3 on my debit card, and then have to remember to pay it back at the end of the month, lest I am charged interest. Why? Can I just not use the money I have directly? Why do I have to borrow it and then pay it back at the end of the month? It's like an extra thing you need to remember in adulting. It can be scary, especially when you begin now buying bigger things that you can't necessarily offset in the moment, and you have like a monthly payment thing for maybe 4 years, 5 years, I don't know, 30 years if you have a mortgage. It can get scary, but you get used to it. That's a very big difference. Number 10 has everything to do with housing. Off the top of my head, the renting scene is quite different. I think apartments are more modern, updated in the area I live in, so they look very nice. Also, appliances come standard with the apartment, so you get the fridge, the microwave, the cooker, the dishwasher, washer and dryer with the apartment, which is awesome. Cannot complain that you don't have to buy those things yourself. Something else is, when you're renting a place, you usually sign a lease for a long period of time. Unlike in Kenya, where it's more on a month-to-month basis. You just move in and then they just tell you if you want to move out, you have to give a month's notice or 2 months notice, and that's it. There's no signing that you have to live here for 2 years, and if you don't, you have to pay 2 months of rent to break the lease. Nothing like that in Kenya. So here you have to sign long-term leases, and I think the longer the lease, the cheaper the rent, because essentially it's good for the landlord when they know they have a guaranteed tenant for a long time. So if you want like a 3-month lease, it's gonna be a lot more expensive than taking out like a 2-year lease. That's something that's very different. Also, when it comes to now owning a house, people go the mortgage route a lot more here than they would in Kenya. I feel like in Kenya, when someone wants to own their own place, we mostly save up the money up front and then either go and buy the house outright or buy land and build the house ourselves. Whereas here, you don't have to save the entire money up front. You can just have like a small deposit and then you take out a mortgage loan. Again, it ties in with the thing about debt and how you're encouraged to have good debt. So a mortgage is one of those things that are considered like good debt, and people are encouraged to do it, which also means that people own homes when they are a lot younger, because you don't have to work 10 years to save this huge amount of money to own a house. You could just work 3, 4 years, and then you have like enough for a deposit, and you keep paying for the house as you keep earning. It can be scary having a loan of very huge amounts of money. No lie, that's very intimidating. It's very intimidating, but people do it all the time. Something else that's different is people don't exactly have fences and gates for their homes. It isn't a very typical thing to find a compound with a fence and a gate and guards, which I feel like is very normal in Kenya. Almost everyone fences their compound and has a gate. You sometimes even have a watchman or a guard, even have like guard dogs. And there's this whole fuss around like gated communities. Here it's more chill. Yeah, people park their cars on the street. Also, last thing is in terms of materials for building, which varies a lot depending on where in the US you live. But here in Washington State, people use a lot of wood. I think it's like a legislation, maybe because of the crazy weather, it's safer to have like wooden houses. But yeah, construction is mostly from wood. It's only like very high-rise apartments and offices that will have concrete being used a lot. Everything else, like your normal average house, will just be made out of wood. They still look nice, but yeah, in Kenya, I feel like almost everything is made out of stone, especially in the affluent areas. Everything is from stone or concrete. That's just the way to go. That's how everyone builds, especially again in the affluent areas. But here, it's all wooden. Alright, that's it for this video. That sums up the 10 things that I found different, surprising, shocking when I moved here a year ago. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found something interesting, something shocking maybe. Actually, let me know which among the 10 things surprised you the most. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, share it with a friend, subscribe down below. And yeah, that's it. Bye.